You might have heard about the recent bombshell settlement involving the National Association of Realtors in a class action lawsuit. This settlement is bringing major changes to the residential real estate industry, and it's affecting both buyers and sellers. And there's a lot of fear and speculation out there and how these changes are going to impact cost, and the headlines are doing a great job of making it seem like everyone will be impacted negatively. However, that isn't necessarily the case. So stick around for the next few minutes. We're going to dive into the NAR settlement and what it means for you as a buyer or seller. Let's get started. One of the significant changes that started a couple of weeks ago in August of 2024 is that sellers will no longer be able to display the buyer agent compensation in the MLS. So currently, a buyer's agent can go in the MLS and can see, it's very transparent, what the seller is offering in terms of the buyer agent compensation. And that field is completely gone. So that's no longer transparent at all. So what's going to happen in the future is the buyer's agent will need to determine what the compensation is by calling the seller's agent of each individual property that the buyer would like to see, and then determining from that conversation what, if any, the seller is willing to offer. So, there's going to be different scenarios here, but it's super important to have that buyer representation agreement signed, and that establishes, the compensation expectation between the buyer and the buyer's agent, and which leads me to my second point. The NAR settlement says that before you can show a home, an agent can show a home to a buyer, you have to enter into a buyer representation agreement. And from my brokerage particularly, we've always had to sign a buyer representation agreement when we start working with a client. So real quickly, let's just talk about the buyer representation agreement. So, the buyer rep agreement is a legal document, and it formalizes your working relationship with a particular agent, and it really just details what services that you're going to be provided, you're entitled to, and what your buyer rep expects from you in return. And while the language in the document is formal, home buyers should really view it as an important and helpful tool that really clarifies expectations and develops that mutual loyalty and trust, and importantly, elevating the services that you'll receive. There are 5 important things that I want to bring up and talk about in terms of the buyer rep agreement. Number 1, it ensures you receive a high level of service. So if we've formalized an agency relationship, with a buyer rep, you can expect to be treated like a client instead of a customer. So what's the difference? Well, clients are entitled to superior services relative to customers. While the details vary from state to state and from buyer agent to another, you can generally assume that being a client means that you formed a fiduciary relationship or an agency relationship with your buyer's rep. If you have questions on this topic, please comment below, reach out to me directly, and we can talk more about the difference between being a customer versus a client and the advantages of being considered a client when you sign a buyer representation agreement. Okay, number 2, you get more without paying more. So oftentimes the way the market has been, the listing broker or the seller has agreed to pay a buyer broker compensation or commission. If they haven't, then you can ask your buyer's rep to avoid showing you homes that don't offer that, or you can determine a specific threshold of percentage based on your buyer representation agreement. Number 3, it avoids misunderstandings. A buyer rep agreement really clarifies expectations and helping you understand what you should and shouldn't expect from your buyer's rep and what they will expect from you, which is basically centers around and loyalty. Number 4, agency relationships are based on mutual consent. While most representation agreements specify a time period, they can be terminated early if both parties consent. Most buyer reps are willing to end an agreement early if the working relationship isn't going well. And some buyer reps also offer representation agreements for as little as 1 day for the purpose of giving both parties a brief trial period to explore whether working together will work. Number 5, strength as a team. When you and your buyer's rep work together within a formalized agency relationship, you've created a team dedicated to helping you achieve the best possible home buying experience. So I hope that helps sort of summarize the importance of a buyer rep agreement, and I see this as a positive. I see it as increased transparency and really making sure everyone's on the same page. As I mentioned earlier, there's so much fear and speculation and misinformation out there about this NAR settlement, and another common fear is that buyers will be required or need to bring more money to the closing table due to these changes, and the reality is that buyers can offer a higher purchase price and request seller concession back. Now, it is important to note that seller concessions, they can be publicly displayed in the MLS. And some are of the opinion that we've essentially just shifted from using the word commission or compensation to concession. There are numerous strategies you can use on the buy side during, what some have termed the messy middle. This is the unknown elements of kind of what we're in the middle of right now, as we're all trying to navigate this new landscape on the buy side and the sell side, and all for the best interest of our clients. Some buyers have asked, I'm attending an open house without an agent. Do I need a written buyer rep agreement in order to tour the home? Well, no. If you're simply visiting an open house on your own, or you're asking a real estate agent professional about their services during the open house, you don't need to have a signed written buyer rep agreement. So that's really important to know. In essence, while many aspects of the process are changing and have changed, the core goals for both buyers and sellers remain the same. Sellers still want to reach as many buyers as possible. They still want to sell their home, and buyers want to get the lowest price negotiated, and they still want to buy a home. So not much in that respect has changed. Looking ahead, we might see a contraction in the real estate industry as the process becomes more, standardized, and some would say more professionalized. Just as sellers choose an agent to represent them, buyers also will be entering into agency relationships with that buyer representation agreement on every situation and every single time. But as I mentioned earlier, there are so many advantages for a buyer to enter into a formal relationship. You have a fiduciary on your side, someone representing your best interest. And for many people, this is the single largest financial commitment and decision you will ever make in your lifetime. And some of you, this is your second, third, fourth home. And there's such complexity now in the real estate market. You really do need, and it's to your advantage to have a trusted, knowledgeable, local resource advisor and guide that walks beside you throughout this whole process. Overall, this whole shift is likely to encourage a higher standard and value-driven approach to real estate. Agents who can clearly articulate their value and provide access to exclusive listings will be in a stronger position, while those who cannot will likely exit the industry. As we move forward, I encourage you, take the headlines with a grain of salt. Many of the sensational claims about, compensation cuts and losses for buyers and sellers are just inaccurate. And I'll continue to provide you with factual information, clear strategies, and insights to help you navigate these changes effectively. My goal is to ensure that you are well informed and equipped to succeed in this evolving market so that you can buy and sell with confidence. If you want to learn more about the Austin real estate market or the latest updates for the second half of 2024, make sure to subscribe. Hit that subscribe button now, and follow me here on all my other socials. Hit the like button if you found this video helpful, and share it with your friends and family. If you are 6 weeks or 6 months away from a move to Austin or the greater Austin area, or if you're just curious about the Texas real estate market overall, I'd love to chat. Let's connect. I'll help you navigate the ins and outs of the market. You can easily book a call with me through the link in the description below, and my contact information is going to be here on the screen. You can call, text, email, whichever is best for you. I'd love to connect. This is Vince Burgess, and thank you for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.